Welcome to Masters of the Nerdiverse. This is my second podcast going in. I'm quite excited to get this running. I'm, of course, your host, Mike G. You can actually find our podcast now on iTunes, Stitcher, and Spreaker, ladies and gentlemen. Super excited to be able to distribute my voice across the interwebs as efficiently as I can now. Getting into the crux of my podcast, I'm going to go over everything from video games, movies, toys, model kits, Lovecraftian horror, whatever you need, I got for you. Now, to begin with my week, I had a very cool week this week, nothing too exciting. Most of the same I did last week, but that's okay. I am a creature of habit. Gotta love it. So I was able to play a bit more Injustice 2, which I'm finding to be a very fun game. I started to main Bane because the game has a really fun way that through the multiverse, it makes you pick other characters that you're not very familiar with. So in this case, it had a nice bonus for Bane. So I figured I'd pick up the character and really get into it. And the character is very fun. He's very versatile for how slow he is, which I like a lot better for him than I do for Swamp Thing. His command grabs are very good. And he actually has a evolving air grab, which I think is amazing. And I was able to how is the computer doing this? So I tried it, searched online, was able to find the answer. I was also to pick up a little bit on Poison Ivy. As I mentioned last week, she's a tough cookie. She's hard to kind of wrap my brain around, but I think I'm going to be able to get her just fine. Some of her combat moves are very tricky to land, especially if there's very tight windows of opportunity to connect a combo, so I'm really feeling a bit awkward playing her, but that's okay. These things take time and muscle memory takes a minute to kick in. Now it doesn't. It love to ask questions to myself. I'm not a narcissist. I just play one on TV. For the rest of my week, I was able to play a bit more of Uncharted 4, which is a very good game. Very linear, but that's, like I said last week, that's okay. It's an Uncharted game, so what do you expect? Going into that, I did hit a wall. I think I'm getting towards the end of the game where it's literally a kill box and there's like 50 soldiers that are going to take you out. You have to sneak around. Being stealthy in an action game always feels a bit weird. I prefer the Metal Gear approach where it's stealth first, ask questions later, and begin the fight there. So I feel like in a Uncharted game, it feels a little alien to me, but I get it. You want to be able to have a way to play different, like in Horizon Zero Dawn, which is actually my favorite game of the year so far. It does a very good way. It goes about a very good way to change your playstyle based on the creature that you're going to attack. So stealth is good in some points, and at other points, just going head first is always good. But you can adjust it depending on your playstyle, and either playstyle will work if you've outfitted your character to be able to use that playstyle, whereas in Uncharted 4, your guy is kind of like your guy. Nathan Drake is not getting any buffs or changes to his playstyle. It's run and gun. So I find that to be a bit weird, but I'm rolling with the punches, and hopefully I'll have that game beat by the end of this week. For movies I've watched, I kind of took it old school this week. I saw that on Netflix that they just reintroduced the first Police Academy from, I believe, the 80s. And I'm a huge fan of the series, but never watched the first one from head to toe. I've seen Citizens on Patrol and the one where they go to the beach, they go to a resort, and I always love the cast of characters, but I've never seen the first one. Kind of like The Godfather, please don't shoot arrows that blot the sun at me. Never seen the first Godfather, seen 2 and 3. I need to go back and watch that one. But for Police Academy, it had a lot of the familiar beats that the rest of the series follows through, and I thought that was kind of interesting. Of course, it has the 80s bang and boobs and all that crazy stuff that those movies have, but it also had an interesting heart, and it had character arcs. Mahoney, the main character of the series, some would say, has a very interesting character arc, and I didn't really expect that from this movie, where he starts off the troublemaker and kind of finds his way to becoming a decent police officer. And the movie has some really interesting social commentary with race, with sexism, with British imperialisms and things like that. And I found that to be very fascinating. And just thinking to myself, they can never make this movie again. Or at least in the same context that, modern audiences would be okay with. Because you can't really get too political in film anymore because everyone's so hypersensitive. So that being said, it's very refreshing to see a film like this every once in a while. Kind of like watching A Blazing Saddles, which is my favorite Mel Brooks film of all time, come at me. It's between that and Spaceballs. I'll fight you forever on those two films. Also, with my week, I did some art. I'm actually a comic book artist as a hobby/trade. I've been drawing since I was 2 years old. I remember the first picture I did. It was of Batman, and it was active. Love that pic. And I did some actual artwork for a couple of Twitch content, I would say content creators and YouTube content creators, some podcasters. One's Maximilian Dude. I'm a huge fan of his, so I did some fan art of him while he was playing Injustice 2 as the Red Hood. And I did a versus of the Super Best Friends Play, which you can find at superbestfriendsplay.com. They're a group of Let's Players out of Canada, and I've been following them for years now. And I did a versus of Maximilian Dude versus Super Best Friends Play, and that picture came out quite well, and it got a very good response on Twitter. I'm resting at 600 likes. Doesn't seem like a lot for anyone else, but to me, it's the world, and I really appreciate it. And interested to do more work for them. Well, not for them, because I didn't get paid, but more work that's inspired by them, I would say. And I love doing that kind of fan art because it gets my name out there and brings more attention to my website, navalcosmos.wordpress.com. Like, comment, subscribe, do something with it. I need it to grow like a baby duck. I need it to grow like the smallest of mallards. So please visit my art blog where I post pictures every day. Just did a sick one of the Punisher that's going up today, along with this podcast. So I will ask with both hands clamored and clenched that you visit my site and give that some love. Now, that's about it for my week. I really kept it really short and sweet and didn't really get into anything too new because it's a very slow snow day in regards to new things that I can actually do on my own here in this great giant Nerdiverse. Now, speaking of the Nerdiverse, let's go to the news. Gotta love that news intro. It's so new. It's so choice, as Ferris Bueller would say. Now, I'm just going to go into the news here and go over some things that I found interesting, such as Marvel's Games Jay Ong on their changed approach to video games. Marvel versus Capcom Infinite pretty much is the subject of this news story and how they're approaching their attempt to make one of the best fighting games series of all time and add to it with their input. And I feel a certain way about these because it feels to me like they're actually using the games as another marketing ploy, and they're not really putting the full TLC in tender loving care into it in such a way that it almost feels like a glorified iOS game. The way it looks, the attention to detail they're having, and the attention to a new experience. They're not really trying to reinvent the wheel here. I haven't touched the game yet, but as I see as a distant consumer is that a lot of the sprites and a lot of the attributes are still there from Ultimate Marvel 3. A lot of the characters look exactly the same, minus a cosmetic upgrade, which is actually a downgrade if you've seen this game in live action yet. And they're going through and saying that they would like to just change their approach to video games because Marvel for a while was only doing iOS games and tablet games and things that sell a ton of money but aren't necessarily filled with content and not necessarily harking back to the fans that made Marvel what it is today. And they're trying to change that, which I can applaud and respect. But what you're showing us versus what you're saying are two different things. And that's something that I will not ill afford. And speaking of ill affording things, this is very interesting news. Jake Busey will play the son of the dad's Predator 2 character. I'm a huge Predator fan. I'm absolutely huge Predator fan. And Predator 2 was like one of those childhood movies I remember that I shouldn't have been watching, but I watched it anyway. And Jake Busey is the son of Gary Busey, the charismatic actor with huge teeth and says whatever he wants. And in the film, he played the alien hunter. He hunted the Predator. Not to the effect that he would have liked. I'm not going to spoil anything because it is indeed a 20-year movie. But Jake Busey's coming back as the son of that character, which I find fascinating and interesting tie to the quote-unquote lore of the Predator. And it just gives me an idea that the director would like to tie up loose ends and make things make sense in the universe. And speaking of things making sense in the universe, is that this is silly. Spider-Man's first appearance was in Iron Man 2. And that's actually a news story, funny enough. And what it's harkening back to, there's a scene in Iron Man 2 is towards the climax of the film where Iron Man is taking down all the drones that have been sent out to destroy him and pretty much making a big fuss at his, I would say, expo. And there's a shot of a kid wearing an Iron Man mask trying to blast one of the actual giant sentinels that Iron Man has to destroy. Iron Man gives the kid a thumbs up, takes out the thing for him, and flies off. They're saying that was actually Peter Parker under that toy Iron Man mask, to which I say that's bullshit. It's bullshit. It's something that I know for a fact the director didn't have in mind when he did that. I get it that they would like to make a fun little, doesn't really matter or mean anything, but it's a way to introduce this character into the Marvel Universe prematurely. But at the same time, I feel that this is more of a publicity stunt than it is actual lore, and I'm just going to dismiss it. Because honestly, and I love Spider-Man to death, but I'm so tired of the Spider-Man marketing. They're really pushing it very hard, and I just want to see the movie at this point. I'm avoiding commercials. I'm avoiding TV spots. I'm avoiding Pizza Hut ads. I just want to see this film because I heard it's getting very good reviews on Rotten Tomatoes, and I just want to see it. I just want to see what what the hubbub is, as it were. And speaking of hubbub, and what the word on the street is that the Jumanji trailer dropped. For the new Jumanji trailer, Welcome to the Jungle, starring Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, Jack Black, and Karen Gillan. And I watched the trailer, and it seems like an interesting take on something that's old. If you haven't seen the trailer, watch it, just because it's nothing that's going to rock your brain. But if you're a huge Jumanji fan, I grew up loving Jumanji. I actually wanted the board game, but it didn't come to life, so I wasn't really down for it once I got it. Kind of like finding out Santa Claus doesn't exist. The trailer is very interesting. They're kind of adapting it for a new audience and making it more of an interactive MMO than the world is coming to life. They're kind of pulled out of the world and pulled into this new reality where they're kind of in the jungle space that Jack was in, the Robin Williams character was for years. So I find it interesting that they're taking that approach. Am I going to go see this movie in the film? Hell no. Nah, it's just not my speed. But do I like what they're doing in the approach that they're taking to the film? Sure, why not? I mean, let it appeal to new audiences. It has a bunch of, I'm sure it's going to have a ton of cameos. I'm sure that it's going to be a blast. But is it for me? No, thank you. That's a corner of the Nerdiverse that I dare not travel. We do not look that way, for it is damned. Speaking of damned, live action Jetson TV series in development. How is that going to do? I can answer that for you, but I'm not, because it's better to say nice things than to not say them at all, right? I don't know. I feel kind of I'm intrigued to see what they do, because the representation of the future on television is something that we've been missing for a while. With the advent of reality television, it's all pretty much dead. There's really no creativity on TV outside of Netflix and HBO. I would love to see a live action Jetson film like on ABC, and it give us an interesting representation of the future now, because the Jetsons, back when it first came out, pretty much encapsulated what we're living in now, minus the flying cars and sky cities. It had a lot of things that harken back to what we're using now, like video phones, computers, things like that. So I'm kind of interested to see what someone's take on what our future would be. And shows like Star Trek and the Jetsons back in the 60s and 70s were representations of what they hoped the future would be. And now that we're actually in that future, things aren't looking quite as well. I would like to kind of see where people think our future is going to go. And that's what really wanted me to add this news to my newsreel because I found it to be very interesting. Speaking of interesting takes, Batman director Matt Reeves promises noir-driven detective film. I believe it when I see it. Okay? I believe it when I see it. I'm not holding my breath for anything DCEU ever, just because, you burn me once, shame on me. Burn me twice, shame on you. Or is that flipped? The world may never know. When it comes to these films, and I know that Zack Snyder is kind of on the out, and I pray for his family because they went through a very hard and tragic event. But going forward, the director Matt Reeves, who's famous for his Apes films, is doing the Batman film, which I'm really interested to see his take. But am I holding my breath for it? No. He's going to be approaching it in a detective capacity, and I would love to see like a Usual Suspects version of Batman, or even a darker noir version of Batman. But we'll see. I mean, we'll see what his approach is, and if Ben is going to carry the film. Because with Ben Affleck as Batman, there's glimpses of excellence. There's glimpses, and we haven't been able to see it because he's been bogged down by the director and the writing. But with a good director and good writing, can Ben Affleck really shut down the haters and be the best Batman ever? Remains to be seen. And speaking to things being remaining to be seen, Fox sets release dates for 6 more Marvel-based movies. I'm so fucking tired of companies doing these giant, sprawling outdates for their films. Oh, we have 12 films lined up for the next 50 years. No, you don't. You have high hopes, and these things change. So, and Fox really seems to be Fox and Sony. I just want them to fall off a cliff. Like, make PlayStation be made by like Bisquick, and I'll love it. I'll just let them make the system. I just break off Sony's gaming division away from everything else, because to me that name is toxic, as well as Fox. But Fox is a lesser of two evils when it comes to between Fox and Sony, because Fox can actually make good content. Such as some of the X-Men films and Legion. If you didn't watch Legion, the X-Men TV show on FX, check it out. It's kind of a mind bender, and I loved it a lot. But them to say they have 6 Marvel films spanned out over the course of how many years, it's wishful thinking, because honestly, their Fox Marvel films haven't done that well. Speaking in relation to the Fantastic Four and their last couple of X-Men films, and it leaves super fans very, very nervous, and we're all kind of just sitting around wondering what's going to happen with these properties, and waiting with bated breath until they return to the bosom of Marvel, the large, ample bosom of the Marvel universe that is ever producing good things. So let's hold our breath on that. Speaking of holding your breath, the full trailer for Marvel's Inhumans is released, and we all know that Black Bolt has to hold his breath, otherwise if he says something, he may just blow up your house. I watched this trailer, and why is Black Bolt running? Why is Black Bolt being beat up by the cops? That's my biggest problem. Black Bolt is the sickest badass, one of the sickest badass in the Marvel universe. He can go toe-to-toe with the Hulk just in sheer strength. He can fly. He can shoot electric bolts. And when he talks, he destroys galaxies. So why is he being beat up by the cops in your trailer? Is he just not willing to go all out on police officers? Why isn't he flying? He can fly, guys. Black Bolt can fly. Why is he running down the streets of LA, relying on Lockjaw to teleport him from to and fro? I'm not feeling it, man. I'm not feeling any of it. I don't know. It seems it's on a TV budget, and certain properties thrive on a TV budget, like Daredevil or lower street level characters. Like a Moon Knight would be great on TV. Constantine would be great on TV, and it was on TV. But something as grandiose as the Inhumans, like this huge, sprawling family of space-faring superhumans on a ABC budget, no, I'm not feeling it. I have to see episodes 1, 2, 3, and 4. I give all new series, 4 episodes, no matter what it is, from anime to horror to action. I'm going to give it 4 episodes. And if it's not good, I'm going to keep it pushing, because Marvel's TV division is hit or miss with me. And speaking of the hits and the misses, Mass Effect Andromeda will not get a single player DLC. Talk about throwing the baby out with the bathwater, huh? This game was a horror show. It was a damn horror show. And they're just not supporting it anymore. And I think that's kind of sad, because the Mass Effect as a brand, as a intellectual property, was so big. I mean, I love Mass Effects 1 and 2. Didn't even play 3, and I bought it. And I got like halfway through, and I just wasn't feeling it. And I didn't buy Andromeda because I wanted to wait and see. Because I'm of the mind to where I'm going to wait and see on certain things anymore. I'm just not going to buy things blind. And luckily I didn't, because this game was a complete and commercial failure. So them not adding DLC to it is quite interesting. And I really want to see where these things go in regards to how they're going to revive this franchise. What are they going to do with it? They're just going to let it flounder and die? Maybe. It may have to wait for a revision or a redo somewhere down the line. And from there, we'll see where it actually goes. And speaking of redos, the actual director of the new Shadow of the Colossus remake is going over content and tuning, pretty much what the team needs to do to make it playable to modern audiences. When it comes to this, when it comes to remakes, and when it comes to making remakes playable, I'm all for changing the gameplay. Adjust the gameplay to make it palpable for new upcoming players, because I never played Shadow of the Colossus, and it's one of those games where I've always I want to go back, but PS1 and PS2 and PS3 era games just seem so dated nowadays graphically, and for them to be doing a complete remake or revision of this game and putting it out, it's very interesting to me, and I really want to play it, and I want it to feel good when I play it. And if the play style or if the mechanics of the game were garbage back then fix them. I feel the same way about Final Fantasy VII. If you want to change the gameplay but still convey the same story and beats that are familiar to people who played it before, then do it, because it's only going to make the game smoother. And if you want to play the exact original game, to play the exact original game. It's a remake for a reason. They're remaking it with modern technology, and that means modern game mechanics. So apply that to your new, to this, existing IP, and make it great. Because if it doesn't feel good within 5 minutes of me playing, I'm not going to want to play it anymore. And that is the cold hard truth. And that's about it. And this is a new beginning, and it's going to be a new beginning for this franchise. And speaking of new beginnings, the Homecoming sequel begins minutes after Avengers 4. It's the Spider-Man Homecoming film that's coming out this week. And they're saying that sequel to this movie that's not even out yet, it's going to begin minutes after the Avengers Infinity War, which I believe is in Avengers 4? Or is that the one after Infinity War? These things get so confusing. So I want to say that's going to begin after the 4th Avengers film, which will be after Infinity War. So confusing. And Spider-Man Homecoming 2 will come out then. And Lord knows what that film is going to be, because the new Avengers films are so shrouded in mystery that no one knows what's going to be going on with these films. And frankly, I'm okay with that. I don't want to know. I'm at a place in my life now where I don't need to know every nook and cranny of a film before it comes out. And I'm okay with that. I just want it to be good. I want it to be intriguing. I want it to respect the source material. And I want it to leave a lasting mark, and I want it to be excellent. And we're going to stay on the MCU for a second, because Robert Downey Jr. is talking about potentially leaving the MCU. And he's saying that, I don't want to beat this into a dead horse, and I don't want to be a liability to the franchise. As I get older and may lose interest, which I understand. And these characters now, some of them have been in these movies for over 10 years now. And you kind of get tired of it. Chris Evans is feeling the same way. And where do you go in this situation where you have these iconic characters that need to be replaced by actors who are younger and more hungry to do a good job? Do you just reboot the series? And what's funny is with the Marvel comics, there's plenty of ways that you can reboot a series and start everybody off at a younger kill. Infinity War is a good way to do that. And that's my personal projection of where that's going to go. The universe is going to restart. And from there, you're going to be able to see a young Tony Stark with a new actor and a new perspective and just restart the whole thing. So I think him wanting to kind of quit on top, not quit, but resign on top, and resign with him still in the faculty to do this character justice is respectable. And I agree with it 110%. Speaking of respecting the character, Nick Fury, aka Samuel L. Jackson, is set to co-star in the new Captain Marvel movie that's coming with Alison Brie playing the titular Carol Danvers, Captain Marvel's answer for Wonder Woman. And Nick Fury is going to co-star in it, not be in the movie, but co-star. That's huge. That means that it's pretty much going to be Nick Fury and Carol Danvers versus the world. And it's been a little while since Samuel Jackson has had a prominent role in these films. It's been quite a while. I want to say since Winter Soldier. And that seems like it's not that far away, but it's been a minute now. And for him to have a co-starring role with this, and for him to be the recruiter of this new Avenger, sounds interesting to me. It has my money. And I'm kind of interested to see how that will actually benefit that project. You know, Samuel Jackson is an excellent actor, and Alison Brie is an Academy Award-winning actress, and I think they're going to knock it out the park. Absolutely. And speaking of knocking things out the park, that is our news, ladies and gentlemen. Let's clap it up. Let's clap it up for those in the back. I'm working on my big sip right now. Got my juice. I have 1 Twix left. Peanut butter Twix. I'm feeling good about that. I'm pacing it. I'm pacing my intake, and it's the best. Here's where we will go into questions and answers. But I don't have any yet. This is my second podcast, so I'm not expecting a flood of questions asking me about certain topics or about myself. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to plug my email address where you can send questions to Masters of the Nerdiverse, and I will answer them at the best of my ability. The email that you need to send these questions to is mastersofthenerdiversecast@gmail.com. And you're saying, I'm sorry, Mike, I was getting chased by 5 wildebeests with glasses on and Timberland boots. I wasn't able to hear that over the sounds of their triumphant running. What is that email address? So I'm going to say it to you one more time and say it nice and slow. mastersofthenerdiversecast@gmail.com. Send me any questions you like. I'll answer them in the order in which they're received, and I will do an excellent job of it, and you will tell your grandchildren of how Mike G from Masters of the Nerdiverse answered your question, and it brought fame and adoration to your house, to your blood houses. And we've reached the section of the show where I'm going to be doing my closing and things that I'm excited about coming up in this next week. News is always flowing and fickle, so I'm always interested to see how the news is going to go one way or another in this great big nerdiverse that we live in. But one of the things I'm really excited about is actually seeing Spider-Man Homecoming, which I believe comes out this weekend. I'm going to go grab a matinee for that. I'm going to get me a big sip. I'm going to get some popcorn. Going to put my feet up and watch them kill this film. So I'm hearing great things about it on Rotten Tomatoes. It's Spider-Man. I remember seeing Spider-Man, the first Spider-Man with Tobey Maguire, and I bought an entire outfit for this joyous event. I bought a Echo button-up. It's just aging me so bad. And it had all the comics on it. And it was so sick. It was this red Echo button-up shirt with all the Marvel old school comics on it. And it came with a t-shirt that had a reflective Spider-Man hollow, like engraving on a white tee. And it flipped from the red and blue suit to the black symbiote suit to the comics. And it was like the sickest shirt ever. And I bought these jeans. They were so doji, people. You don't understand how sick these jeans were. I can't fit them anymore. The jeans were just standard jeans. They're Echo as well. And they had a bleached Spider-Man art from Todd McFarlane on the left leg. And on the right leg, it had bleached webbing around the leg. Oh my goodness. I got so many people coming up to me asking me, where'd you get them jeans from? I'm like, don't worry about it, bruh. I got them from the Marvel Universe. That's where I copped them. You'll have to go inside the teleportation tube to get your doji jeans. They're mine. They're my size. You can't fit them. Go somewhere. Kick rocks. So I'm a huge Spider-Man fan. Really excited for this film. Can't wait to see it. Throughout the rest of the week, I think I'm really torn to picking up Tekken 7, the Iron Fist tournament, because it looks really good. And I'm just about getting burnt out on Injustice 2, so I wanted a new fighting game to kind of sink my teeth into. My favorite fighter in the game, Lei Wulong, is not in it, so that kind of irks me. Otherwise, I would have been purchased this game. But he's not there, but I guess I can main someone else. Maybe one of the Mishimas, or thinking about maining Law or Lee. Maybe King. Gotta get good with Kang. Gotta get those 8-hit octagon throw combos that drive everybody crazy. So I'm thinking about picking up that game. Another good game that's actually on PlayStation Plus I'm thinking about getting is Killing Floor 2. I didn't play the first Killing Floor, but I'm kind of interested to see how that game plays and picking that up for free, because if you're a PlayStation Plus member, you get free games every month, and this isn't a plug, but it's just facts. So I'm thinking about picking up the game, at least downloading it, see if I like it. If I don't, I'll trash it. It would be banished from the lands. It would be banished from my PlayStation 4. And doing some more artwork. Very excited to get some more artwork done this week. I try to draw as often as possible and learn more experienced techniques in drawing and building my followers and building people who actually see my artwork. Because honestly, the easiest part is doing the artwork. The hardest part is having the courage to put your stuff out there and accept criticism and accept no one liking it, and accept it not no one liking, literally no one liking it, and no one liking the post that you did. You may have 0 posts on a picture that took you 7 hours to do. That's okay. You just got to keep it pushing and really move forward with your art and be confident that what you're doing, no matter if it's art, if it's learning a sport, if it's learning a trade, just keep at it, because if you build it, they will come. And that is the attitude I have with everything in my life going forward. And that wraps up this podcast. This has been a podcast. So once again, you can find us on iTunes. You can find us on Stitcher, and you can find Masters of the Nerdiverse podcast on Spreaker.com. And I have been your host, Mike G. And I will always ask you to never give up, and to always go that one step.